you continue to insist on your right, for example, I used to use an example of a car, a speed car, for example, driving along its own lane on an express road, and there's an oncoming trailer on one way coming along the same way. Would you, because you're on your right lane, you insist and run into the trailer? What is the oncoming trailer in this particular instance? Is the problem in the polity? What is the problem? Are you not seeing it? I am asking you. Is there no problem in the polity? So I think you are in Nigeria. Now, if you say that there is a problem, if I say I'm putting it back just to you. Is there no problem? I'm using your words. Is there no problem? No, don't use my words. I have to come from some premises. You either acknowledge that there is a problem, or you acknowledge that there is no problem. If you say that there is a problem, then you ask me based on the fact that there is no problem. If you acknowledge that there is no problem, there's no problem, then you come from that angle, and then we can talk. You know, if you say that there is a problem, and I insist on using that for a reason, because the average Nigerian will tell. If I say that there is a problem, just a moment, just a moment. It's in the open space, just a moment. Don't say what is a moment, Mr. Ikeji. There is a problem within the PDP. Is there none? The average Nigerian will. Is there none? 7 governors have been junketing across the country for leaving governors prostrate in their. You're not let me put my question through, are you? The president is not concentrating on governance, and you are telling me that just if I say a moment, yes, if you say that there is a problem, let's leave that. Leave that statement aside. We all know that there is a problem in the PDP. God bless you. Thank you so much. Yes, but the average Nigerian will ask how that affects his or her own, daily life. So if you say that there is truly a problem in the PDP, doesn't that give greater reason for the National Assembly to actually see what can be done? If you say, I acknowledge that problem is going to affect the everyday Nigerian. Yes. It's a miracle I still remember this question, considering how long you've interrupted me. So, if we say that there is a problem in the PDP, or there is a problem in the PDP, and that problem is going to affect the everyday life of Nigerians, because you are saying that this problem is big enough for the Baraje faction to stay away from the National Assembly. Yes. Doesn't the National Assembly then have a duty to intervene in that matter and see how they can actually help resolve it? I want to ask you a question. And permit me to. I'm not allowed to answer questions here, Mr. Ikeji. You are not allowed. You're free to ask your question. We can proceed from certain premises. Yes. Because if you don't proceed in your arguments from premises, your conclusions may be defective. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to ask you, what is the duty of the National Assembly, constitutionally speaking? Now you've gone back to law. No, I'm not going back to law. No, because yes, you have. Okay. Because you're not asking what is the duty of the National Assembly, constitutionally speaking. And we asked you, what is your premise? Because we're saying that these people have a right. Yes. And you're saying, no, if everybody insists on right. Say right. I'm not talking about right. I am saying that exactly, it's morally wrong. Exactly. Now, you were talking about moral. So what is morally wrong for the National Assembly to actually intervene in this particular matter? Even if you said that the law says their duty. Yes. I don't know where you're coming from, but do you realize that the so-called Baraje new PDP, there's nothing like new PDP actually, but the Baraje group, so to speak, worked out on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, take aside the fact that he's a member of the PDP, but he remains an epitome of our sovereignty. He remains at the height, at the very peak of the Nigerian sovereignty. And so all honor and respect must be accorded to him at all times. You remember that this same group worked out on him. When was that? At the convention. Okay. At the PDP convention. Because you know that even the president is actually subject to his party. That the party is supreme. Isn't that what we hear all the time? The party is supreme in as far as the party politics is concerned. But for Nigeria, the president remains... What was the forum? What was the occasion? No, that occasion cannot override the fact that the president is the leader and head of the Nigerian Federation. You cannot, because he is a member of your political party, you now subjugate his personality as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, carrying behind him the sovereignty of Nigeria, carrying behind him the ceremonial leadership of Nigeria. You cannot, because of your disaffection, so to speak, disrespect and dishonor him, because what you are doing, you are dishonoring the entire Nigeria. Okay, the speaker eventually did say this meeting is scheduled, is supposed to be, they're supposed to address the caucus of the People's Democratic Party. Yes. How did that eventually sort anything out? I would have expected the speaker, if he really had
good faith, if there is good faith in his conscience, I would have expected him to make, to have, not to have the media be aware of what was going on. If it has to be a caucus meeting, let it be a caucus meeting, and let them have a family meeting with a view to coming out and telling us that all things are settled, not to make it a media affair. And the same speaker, pardon me, with due respect to him, also came out on air to say that we must refrain from overheating the polity. There's no more overheating of the polity than receiving members of a faction in an assembly that has a majority of the other major faction present. That means that you are stepping on them and you're telling them that they don't mean nothing.
I think what Jimmy said is very key here. Yes. He actually said it wasn't meant for everyone, that it was a caucus meeting, and there was no other place better than to announce it where everyone was present, that if you're a PDP member, after the session, we'll be meeting our other PDP members.
Yes, there was press in the gallery.
They're always there.
Are you telling me that it's everything that they are doing within themselves there that we are aware of?
No, are you saying that, well, henceforth, they should always blank out the media?
Not blank out. Where, if you are getting the media involved, that you are going to expose inflammable materials out there that can lead to further hitting the polity. You exercise some decorum and restrain your tendencies in such a way as to manage the situation.
Mr. AKG, even the family meeting held by the Senate President was also covered by the media. So, I mean, and there were no fisticuffs exchanged there. There was no heated argument there. It was as peaceful as we all saw on television.
Let me make it clear. The Senate President is a statesman. The first action.
But you already criticized him. You said he had no right and he shouldn't have held that meeting at all.
Hold on. That's what I'm saying. And that's where I'm going to. He's a statesman. He, from the onset, from the very first step, ought not in any way whatsoever have received or accepted to even have received those people in his official capacity as the Senate President. That is my point. I cannot derail from that.
You said that, but you also seem to be commending him for handling it well when he decided to. You said he's a statesman.
I said he's a statesman. I am giving you his position in the country. He's the number 3 citizen, for goodness sake. And as such, he ought not to encourage
division. I get your point. You're saying that he's a statesman and shouldn't have done that.
Yes.
Not that he was not that he's a statesman in the way he handled it.
Yes, I'm not saying that he acted like a statesman. He acted contrary to a statesman.
I see. Has any damage been done by these visits to the National
Obviously, you are strengthening dissidents. Now, we must differentiate between destructive and subversive politics with patriotic politics. What the Baraje-Led government group is doing is destructive and subversive politics and not patriotic politics, because it has nothing to do whatsoever with our lives, with you and I. Nothing whatsoever. They don't address the issues. They are not. And in point of fact, if you have any opposition within your political party, there are structures in the political party to correct those issues. You don't come and use it to bring down the person of the president. Look at their demands, for goodness sake. Can you say that their demands make sense, that the president should not contest under his constitutional rights, or that the EFCC should not prosecute them if they are found, or investigate them if they are found to wanting in any case?
I guess it's up to politicians to determine what makes sense and what doesn't.
No, we have a responsibility. The media has a responsibility. The society has a responsibility. We in the civil society also has
a quick one here before we go. Which of the NGF do you think is the authentic one, so that we know, since you're telling us what is and what isn't?
In my view, I am saying that for now, that you cannot come out on air and start giving one faction.
No, which faction would you want us? Because we're journalists, which faction, from what you've seen, which faction would you want us to give some kind of prominence and legitimacy?
You don't give.
Which one is legitimate to you?
The only resolution that I can recommend to you is that you go and look at the Board of Trustees, in whose hands lie the certificate of registration of NGF. Who has the control of the common seal of the NGF? That's whoever has it still has the control and is the legitimate NGF.
And in the meantime,
they found a legal way out of it, not a moral way.
Eventually, the courts will have to rule on this one. But
remember that Fashola took the Fashola court. No, he wasn't struck out. He wanted to withdraw the case. Because there is a requirement, there are certain requirements of signature of board of trustees, and obviously it was weighing against. Yes, it was weighing against. He didn't succeed. Professor Yemi Osinbajo respectfully represented him, tried to withdraw, and eventually the other faction refused to accept it. But it was struck out because, of course, there's no case. There's no more case. If they had a strong case, I can assure you that they will explore that angle and proceed from that angle.
Politics and law. Interesting. Well, Keji, legal practitioner, thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much.
We'll return in just a moment. Join us again.